It is still way too early to redraft the 2023 NFL Draft, with it being less than 2 full years ago. But today, that is exactly what we are gonna do. We are gonna go back in time and see what could have happened if these teams made the right pick or at least a better pick. And I think it would be fun to be very overreactionary. Even if some of these teams made a good pick, I might take a slightly better player or someone that I would think would be a better fit. But let's get into this. Be sure to leave a like if you want me to do another redraft. And let's see, we almost hit 1,000 likes on the last one of these I did, so if we can hit 1,000, I'll do another. But let me know down in the comments which year you would want to see next. And I'll give you a shout out if you were like the first to suggest that year or something. But let's get this started. And we are already gonna be starting off hot here. For the Carolina Panthers, if I were to make this pick, say even 3 months ago, I would seem insane. There would be no way you make this pick. He's been horrible in his career so far, up to that point 3 months ago. But I am gonna stick with Bryce Young. Let me see, can I get this more? There we go, that fits better, I guess. But Bryce Young obviously clowned as a horrible pick, because to be fair, he was horrible for his first season, and even the first few games to start the 2024 season. He looked even worse, debatably. But benching him, at least so far, has seemed to fix him, because over these last 5 weeks, I don't know if this is controversial to say, but he has been playing like a top 5 QB in the NFL. I mean, he has almost single-handedly kept the Panthers in it in every game, including the Chiefs game. So with the recent performance, we're definitely given recency bias with a lot of these picks. I don't really see any reason to take, CJ Stroud or definitely not any other QB. So we're gonna stick with Bryce. Maybe it would be better to go CJ Stroud because he was actually, good last year. But these last 6 weeks, I would say Bryce Young has done better than CJ Stroud in probably a worse situation. I mean, I know the pass protection hasn't been great for CJ Stroud, who is obviously who we're gonna take next. But overall lately, I would say Bryce Young has done more with less. Again, just in the last half season, we'll say. But yeah, I mean, we're obviously not going to switch off of CJ Stroud or Will Anderson. Nailed both of those picks. I mean, what else is there to really say about those? They were amazing picks. I actually questioned the CJ Stroud pick because I didn't know how high his upside would be. I didn't hate it, but I just didn't know if he would ever be great. In his rookie year, he was pretty great. And this is actually maybe a controversial pick, but I am going to stick with Anthony Richardson here. He's been pretty bad, but kind of similar to Bryce Young. He's been better in the last few weeks. I mean, really similar situations. They both got benched for veterans. They've been on pretty not great teams with horrible, well, the Panthers defense is a lot worse than the Colts, but not great defenses. And then they came back in and have been doing better recently. Young's doing better than Richardson, but the main reason I'm making this pick is because I don't really see another situation where the Colts can get another, high upside QB. So we'll just stick with Richardson. You could also go like a player that has been good so far in their career, but we'll say this is a gamble pick. But the Seahawks at number 5, I mean, no reason to switch off Devin Witherspoon here. I mean, you could go Jalen Carter, but, well, not really. The Seahawks D-line is good. If they didn't have Devin Witherspoon, their secondary would be screwed. So we'll keep him. We'll say that was the right pick. And I'm actually going to say the Cardinals made the right pick here. It's not always great just to draft for need when there are better players available, but Paris Johnson has been really good this year, and it's left tackle. That's a pretty important position to not take Paris Johnson here. You know what I'm trying to say? So we'll keep him. Maybe that'll be controversial again, but it's left tackle and he's been really good. So I don't really see much of a reason to change it. But this pick, we are pretty clearly going to change. I mean, Tyree Wilson has been better this year, but he's been better compared to horrible last year. So he's been okay this year. I am going to go with, I'm going to have to scroll down to find him, Puka Nacua. I will say I was a Puka Nacua enjoyer in the draft. As a Seahawks fan, I was kind of upset when he went to the Rams. Injuries were the problem with him at BYU. That's part of the reason he went so late, and he has been hurt this year. I think he's been back healthy for a few weeks now, but that's something you got to worry about. But if you're the Raiders, that's a risk you're probably willing to take. You need something. And now the Falcons here also, you could change this. I'm going to make this same argument later for another pick, but as the Falcons here, you can risk doing something other than taking Bijan Robinson because you have Tyler Algier. You're fine at running back even if you don't have him, but I'm still going to take him because he's quietly been the third best running back in the league this year. If he's been that good, I don't really see any reason to change it. But now the Eagles will keep Jalen Carter. Like, a lot of teams early on here actually did pretty well. We have only changed one pick so far. Trust me, it changes a lot more the later we go on. But for now, Darnell Wright has been really good this year. I mean, the Bears line as a whole hasn't been great this season. I feel like that's a little overblown too. There are definitely worse lines, but Darnell Wright has been probably the best guy on that line. Maybe Tevin Jenkins, maybe Braxton Jones. I don't know. I feel like it's not even that bad of a line. There are worse. But we are finally gonna change just our second pick so far. I think, don't quote me on this, but I think this Darnell Wright pick was the only one I kept the same, or the last one I kept the same. Actually, no, I'm literally looking at one right now. This was the second to last, I think. But for the Tennessee Titans, I mean, there are so many different things you could do here. This roster sucks. They took Peter Skoronski here, which I've said this before, I'll say it again. I think he should be a tackle. I think he's better at tackle. And spoiler alert, but I do take him to a team here in this first round redraft. But I'm going to go with Zay Flowers to the Titans. I mean, that's pretty self-explanatory. They need receivers, so we'll give them a receiver. I mean, they need a lot, but Zay Flowers would be fun. And now this is the other running back pick that I thought about changing, and maybe I should, but it would kind of screw up the test draft I already have laid out. I'm just going to stick with Jahmyr Gibbs. I feel like this was a good pick. I hated it at the time. You still could argue there were other picks they should have made here. Like, I still don't love their corner group. You know, it's not a perfect roster. Like, I liked Jahmyr Gibbs. I just didn't like the idea of taking him here, but I mean, it's worked out. But you also have David Montgomery. That's why I'm like, okay, maybe I should go Brian Branch here. Maybe I should go Sam Laporta here, which maybe I should, but we'll just stick with what they did because he's been good, and I feel like people would be mad if I changed that one. And speaking of Sam Laporta, to the Packers here, I am gonna take Sam Laporta. I know they have good tight ends in real life, but we're living in a world where they don't have Luke Musgrave yet. They don't have Tucker Kraft yet. We could also go Jaden Reed here, but I feel like they have enough at... The receiving core isn't great, but, you know, they have Christian Watson, they have Romeo Dobbs, they have... Well, I guess they don't have Dontavian Wicks in this world, but they can take a receiver round 2. How about that? But to the Steelers, we are going to take Jackson Smith-Njigba. You know, they kind of just have George Pickens at receiver. I mean, Calvin Austin has been decent too, but we'll get Russell Wilson some more help. This is where they took... Did they take Broderick Jones here? Yeah, they did. I mean, he hasn't been great. So they have Troy Fatanu. They can, but we'll go JSN. We'll get them I mean, Pickens and JSN, that's a pretty good top 2. You do unfortunately lose Joey Porter Jr. here, but that's kind of tough. Again, maybe take a corner round 2 or something. But to the Jets here, someone that has maybe lasted too long, but I just couldn't find there are teams that had much bigger needs than safety so far. But we are finally gonna take Brian Branch off the board. Just pretty much best player available. Kind of a no-brainer there. I mean, you lose Will McDonald, but again, I would rather have Brian Branch than Will McDonald. I mean, I think Will McDonald has a lot of sacks this year, but he's been good. But I would rather have Brian Branch. And now, this is a painful one for the Commanders. Let's go with Christian Gonzalez. I mean, that was the obvious pick here, but they took Emmanuel Forbes, who they waived, and I think he got picked up by the Rams. I bet the Patriots were pretty excited to see that Gonzalez didn't get picked by the Commanders, to say the least. So we'll make the right pick here. What they should have done, what I was shocked they didn't do, we'll make that pick. But now the Patriots, I mean, I guess we could take Joey Porter Jr. here or something, but I'm going to go with the receiver. Their receiving core, I mean, they also lose Demario Douglas here, so it's even worse than it is in real life. So I'm going to go with another maybe controversial pick. I'll go with Rashee Rice. I know he isn't healthy this year, but he's good. I feel like some fans just kind of forget about players when they're not healthy. They can't just go to NFL.com and see who's leading the league in receiving yards, and they don't see Rashee Rice up there, so they think he sucks now, even though he's hurt. So I feel like some people might not like this pick, but again, kind of like the Titans earlier, there are like a billion different directions you could go here, so I don't know. But to the Lions, I mean, they lose Michael Mayer here, or not Michael Mayer, I was looking at Michael Mayer. They lose Sam Laporta here, so I'm gonna go with like the second best tight end from this class, Dalton Kincaid. Downgrade from Sam Laporta, but not that much of a downgrade. Dalton Kincaid's been pretty good for the Bills. So overall, the Lions are probably like the biggest losers of this redraft because, you know, they lose Laporta, they lose Branch, they lose Jack Campbell, but you gotta do what you gotta do. But all right, for the Buccaneers, I might stick with the same position they went in Kalijah Kancey. I thought Kalijah Kancey would be better so far. He's been good. Well, he's been pretty good as a pass rusher, but he's been pretty horrible against the run. So I think I'm gonna go with Kobe Turner. I mean, he was a defensive rookie of the year candidate for the Rams last year. Has been pretty good this year too, mostly last year, but still good this year. You know, you could also keep an edge rusher here too, like Yaya Diaby's been good this year. You could justify taking him here. There's some other guys available too. Overall, it's not that good of an edge rusher class. It's like the major one is Will Anderson, and that's mostly it. I mean, there are other good ones, but no insane ones or anything, at least not yet. But all right, the Seahawks at 20. Y'all know how I feel about the Seahawks. We're taking a lineman here. I might go insane if I have to see the Seahawks struggle on the offensive line for another season. I'm taking Peter Skoronski. We're gonna have to play him at guard, which I know I said I didn't want to do, but that's better than what they have. If I have to watch another season of Anthony Bradford at right guard, I'm gonna have an aneurysm. And then they do their cute budget signings like Ben Brown or Evan Brown last year. I can't even remember his name. Laken Tomlinson at left guard. Like, just invest in guard. So you don't have the same problem every year. I'm gonna have an aneurysm. Like, I feel like John Schneider would be a good GM if he realized guard is a position that exists in football. I don't know. So we'll take Peter Skoronski. Not like he's been great, but he's been decent, and that's good enough for me. But to the Chargers here, this is maybe an interesting pick. Another underrated player, in my opinion. I keep right-clicking, and I do. But I am gonna go with Josh Downs. He was one of my favorite sleepers in the draft at the time. You know, this is where they took Quentin Johnston. I liked Quentin Johnston. I didn't think his hands would be as big of a problem as they were, or as they are. I mean, he was just more of a rack threat at TCU, but he hasn't really been used that way. He hasn't been used perfectly by the Chargers, but either way, he hasn't been great. So we'll upgrade there. We'll get Josh Downs. He's been really good for the Colts. And now the Ravens here, I mean, they're kind of a loser of this draft. They lose Zay Flowers, but this is a pretty good receiver class so far. So we'll give him Jaden Reed. I mean, that's a downgrade, but like, Jaden Reed is good. Another guy I thought was a sleeper in this draft. But then the Vikings, we do actually have one more pick where I kept it the same. We are gonna keep Jordan Addison. But then the Giants at number 24, we're gonna steal Joey Porter Jr. from the Steelers, unfortunately. I mean, Deontay Banks has been okay, but Joey Porter Jr. has been better. Banks gets kind of cooked at times. I think he had did he have a lot of picks last year? Yeah, he had 2. According to the good old PFF here, love it or hate it, he allowed 644 yards last year, 546 so far this year, so that's a decent bit if that's right. I never know if I can fully trust PFF coverage stats and grades, but overall I feel like they're pretty good. And Banks actually grades out pretty horribly. He has a 50 coverage grade this year. He had an 87 against the Seahawks, go figure. But yeah, we're taking Joey Porter Jr. Then the Bills, this is maybe a weird one, but I didn't know what to do with the Bills. Most of the good players left are like running backs or receivers. They don't really need either of those. So I actually went with Jack Campbell. He's been pretty good for the Lions this year. He was okay last year, but he's been good this year. I also didn't love that pick for the Lions, but he's been pretty good. I mean, I figured the players the Lions got in the first round would be good. It was just a positional value thing, but I'm starting to lean away from that and realize, hey, if you took a player that's probably good, that's probably worth it. I mean, it depends, but I mean, still, if there's like an equal level offensive lineman or linebacker available, you probably take the lineman, just as an example. But whatever, either way, we're taking Campbell to the Bills. And the Cowboys here, this is another super interesting one. I'm gonna give him a receiver. I'm gonna go with Tank Dell. Hasn't been as good this year as he was last year, but last year he was one of the better rookie receivers in the league, close to the best. And I mean, this team's, they've tried to invest in receiver, but they still kind of just have CeeDee Lamb. I mean, Brandon Cooks is solid, but like he's 30 something at this point. So we'll give him Tank Dell to be their future number 2. And I feel feel like you feel pretty good about that. Plus, they got like nothing in this draft. For some of these teams, I like to, you know, take the same position, but a better player, or like try to replace a good pick that they made anywhere in this draft. But for the Cowboys, they got like nothing from this class. So that's tough. They got like DeMarvion Overshown, and so far that's pretty much it. So that was an easy, okay, we basically upgrade anything from this class. Anything is house money with this pick. But this is another one I was iffy about. I might redo this pick because we're so late here. I gave the Jags Anton Harrison. I let them keep him, but they did draft Javon Foster, who I do like. The problem is, like, he's unproven, so that would be risky. And Anton Harrison's been fine. I struggled with this one. Maybe you still should go Anton Harrison, because, like, Walker Little and Javon Foster, that's a little scary as your tackle duo. I still might keep, yeah, I'll keep Anton Harrison. There's definitely an argument to be made there to take someone else. I just didn't really know who. Like maybe Keanu Benton, Keon White, I guess. So yeah, I'll just stick with Anton Harrison. But coming down to the end here, for the Bengals, I mean, this defense has been one of the worst, maybe the worst in the league, just randomly. Like they have good players. Lou Anarumo has been like great for the Bengals, but this year their defense is just randomly horrible. I couldn't even really tell you why. It's not like particularly injured or anything either. I mean, there are injuries, but not that many. It's just been a bad defense. So I am gonna give them, if I can find him. Oh yeah, there were 2 Byron Youngs in this class. I forgot about that. I'm gonna give him Yaya Diaby. I was talking about him for the Bucs earlier, but he's been really good this year for the Buccaneers. And that's a big loss for them because they now have like Joe Tryon, who's been kind of a bust, honestly, and that's about it. But yeah, we'll pair Yaya Diaby with Trey Hendrickson. I couldn't think of his name for some reason. And that would probably be a pretty nice duo, honestly. Oh yeah, and this is a draft with only 31 picks. I think this was the year the Dolphins got punished for tampering with Tom Brady or something when he was a free agent. I don't remember exactly what they did, but yeah, I'm pretty sure that's the reason there are only 31 picks here. But to the Saints, I am gonna go with, here they took Brian Brzee, but unfortunately he hasn't been great so far in the NFL. He's been okay. Hopefully he does well, but so far, based off their careers, I'm gonna go Keanu Benton. Has been really good for the Steelers. I mean, I don't want to say he has an easy job because he's surrounded by Cam Hayward, Alex Highsmith, TJ Watt, but he's in a good situation, but I still think he would be good on another team, so we'll send him to the Saints. And speaking of a current Steeler, to the Eagles at 30. You know, Nolan Smith has been better this year, but now this is going to age poorly because I think this guy's going to go like way up the ranks in the future. I think this is going to look stupid that he went so late, but again, we're just reacting to how good they have been so far. If I can find him. Oh yeah, he's listed as a linebacker, which I guess kind of makes sense because he was at Wisconsin, but I'm going to go with Nick Herbig to the Eagles. Their pass rush hasn't been great this year, so I mean, it's been getting better, but this would just be another upgrade to it. And you might as well, you're losing one here in Nolan Smith, so we might as well upgrade. And then finally, the Eagles at number 31. I'm gonna go with, I didn't know what to do here, so I pretty much just took the best player available that could get some playing time. I went with Keon White. So this is my, again, way too early 2023 redraft. Let me know what you thought in the comments. Of course, some teams lose a good player, but overall, I do think this is the way it should have played out based on these players' careers so far. But again, be sure to leave a like if you want to see me do another one of these. Be sure to subscribe. You can be one of the first like 10,000 subscribers on this channel. Be sure to subscribe to my main channel, link in the description. I do Madden related stuff over there. And let me know what year I should redraft next. But thank you all for watching, and with that, I will see y'all again in the next video. Goodbye.